In this video, we're going to look at every single jerkbait that Megabass creates, look at underwater footage, and see which baits you should get for your body of water.
3, 2, 1.
Let's start with the biggest offering they have, this being the Kanata. This bait is just over 6 inches, it weighs 1 ounce, and it comes with size 2 trebles on there. Now, this bait is not what you would expect from a traditional jerkbait. The way that you work this bait is not going to be very effective if you're just giving it wrist twitches like you would with any other jerkbait. This bait, first of all, is not going to be able to be thrown on a traditional jerkbait rod. I usually throw this on like a medium heavy with braid. You're going to want to give it a little bit more powerful sweeps. That's going to pull the bait through the water and then kick out at the end. It's going to pull it through and kick out. Now, it does have a pretty decent swim just on a straight retrieve, but this is one of those baits that is super cool, a ton of fun to look at, but in my personal opinion, it doesn't really have a lot of play for the way that I fish and the rods that I carry. So that is the Kanata, the biggest bait, the biggest jerk bait that Megabass makes. Now let's work our way down. I'll be honest with you guys, this is my least favorite jerk bait of all the ones that I'm going to talk about today. This is the Megabass Vision 110 Max LBO. So this is the same body as a traditional 110, but it's been sized up. It's about 5.5 inches, weighs 3/4 of an ounce, and comes with size 4 hooks. And it has that LBO weight transfer system in there, as you can see. I was very disappointed at the action of this bait. I found it very difficult to get any sort of consistent action that I would want out of a jerkbait. And just to add on to it, you can't really fish it on a traditional jerkbait rod, which is tricky. So once you size up your rod, then it gets really difficult to not overwork the bait. I noticed a lot of times as I would twitch it with a heavier rod, the transfer system would go to the back, and then the bait is now sitting like this in the water, and then it gets very hard to get back on track. So in my opinion, beautiful bait to look at, not super practical. It's one of those that's probably going to sit on my desk for a while. Next up, we have the Ito Shiner. This is one of those hidden gems in the lineup that doesn't get a whole lot of attention, but I think it really should. If you're looking for an oversized jerkbait, this is where you should look in the Megabass lineup. In my opinion, this is the highest that I go when I fish, when I'm on an actual jerkbait bite. So if I'm on a jerkbait bite and we're early spring or they're just all over a jerkbait and I've caught, tons of little guys and I want to get that kicker fish, I pull out this guy right here. It has a cupped bill, as you can see. That cupped bill allows this bait to be much more erratic than your traditional Vision 110s, and it's 1/2 of an ounce, comes with size 4 hooks, and is 4.5 inches, which on paper is about the same as a Vision 110, but this thing fishes much larger in the water. If you ever fished one, you know what I mean. It has a much larger presence, much more erratic, pulls from a longer distance. This is an awesome bait when the water is a bit warmer or you're trying to fish for a larger bite. Next up, we come into the tried and true, the traditional, the staple, the gold standard Vision 110. There's not much that I can say about this that hasn't already been said. It's the base point. If you don't know where to start, if you're anywhere in the country, you're probably going to start with this guy just to get a feel for Megabass jerkbaits. Now I'm going to talk about a couple others that I would probably recommend over this in a little bit, but there's no denying that this is what started the trend. This is what started, in my opinion, this catapulted Megabass into the mainstream. This was the first bait that I had heard of from Megabass, and I feel like that's probably the case with a lot of others as well. There's not much really to say about this that you guys probably don't already know. It suspends extremely well. It has a very, I'm going to call it finesse action. It's not extremely erratic. You're going to lean towards the Vision series in the cooler water months. They suspend extremely well. They come with very fine wire hooks, and that's all there is to it. This bait alone set the standard in the jerkbait category. Now we come to, in my opinion, the best Megabass jerkbait for large bodies of water, open water fishing, and deep water. This is the Vision 110 plus 1. This is the standard size. This is in a matte shad color, which is just an awesome color, little aside. It has a slightly longer bill right there, and for obvious reasons, it's going to get you a little bit deeper. This will get you into the 9-10 foot range with proper line sizing. Same hooks on there. We got size 6 hooks. Has the same weight transfer system, 1/2 ounce. On paper, you would think this is the same bait, just goes a little deeper. In my opinion, this bait is far superior to the original 110. And it's not just because it goes a little deeper. I would take this bait over the original 110 in basically any situation. The reason being, this deeper bill, I don't know what it is about it. This bill hits a sweet spot where the action on this is, one, extremely easy to get to work. It's much more erratic, so it will dance side to side. It'll do a true walk the dog underwater, which I think triggers a lot of bites. If I'm fishing open water, if I'm trying to get down deep, this is my coldest months, this is my hot months. I mean, this bait, this model launched my fascination for Megabass jerkbaits and really is what started my obsession with all the rest of their jerkbaits in the line. Now, kind of adding on to that, we have the 110 plus 2. I'm not going to repeat all the same sort of things. 1/2 ounce, the bill is a little bit larger. The intention here is that it gets deeper. Now, here's my little aside. This bait does not have the magic that this bait does, okay? Something about the bill to body ratio, I don't know what it is. I really don't. All I can tell you is my experience. And the 110 plus 1 has an extremely predictable and easy to control action, and you can really get it to work every time. It's very consistent. This bait, not so much. I think the larger bill, it does get deeper, which if I was going to turn to this bait, it would be in frigid water, which I don't get a lot living in Florida. But if you are up north and you fish in frigid water, you would consider this. You have to be much more subtle with your action. I would crank it down first, and then you're just going to lightly tap it as you work it. If you give it hard twitches like I do with the plus 1, it's going to blow out. And if this thing blows out, you're getting line tangled around the bill, line tangled around that first hook right there. So just keep that in mind. Moving into a newer lineup in the Megabass jerkbaits. These are the Junior Vision. So Vision 110 Junior. This is the standard Vision 110 Junior. And then we have the 110 Junior plus 1. Okay. Original or the standard size bill on the Junior 110, this thing has a much more consistent action. So if I'm going to go shallower, if I need a shallower jerkbait, instead of going to the 110, I'm actually going to turn to the 110 Junior. Not so much for the size, but for the action. This thing has a much more consistent jerkbait action that I'm looking for. I don't want to have to be careful every time that I fish a jerkbait to not overwork it, especially if the fish are active and I want to work it a little bit quicker. I want a bait that can handle a little bit harder of a twitch without blowing out every time, and this bait does that. Now, it's kind of an added bonus that it's a little bit smaller, so if I'm looking for a bite to see if they're on a jerkbait, this is a great one as well. It weighs 3/8 of an ounce and has size 8 hooks, so you got to keep that in mind when you're throwing it on whatever rod you have it on. But I throw it on my normal jerkbait setup, no problem. This thing's awesome. So if I'm at a pond and I need to pull out a hard jerkbait, I usually go here. Now we're going to go into what I'm going to call the best jerkbait that Megabass has created. Smaller body, the same bill that you're going to get on the 110 plus 1. Now you have the 110 plus 1 Junior. And this thing is just, this is a home run bait. This is a home run bait for a couple reasons. You can fish this on your standard jerkbait rod, okay? But it's a smaller bait. So if you're not sure if they're on a jerkbait bite, you want to have a bait that is a little bit smaller, a little bit more approachable for more fish to see if they're on that sort of bite. This bait size does that for you. but it has the additional benefit of being a little bit deeper diving, so you can still access deeper waters. So now we're not talking just ponds, shallow water. Now we're talking, I throw this over 25, 30 foot in my lake, and I pull fish up from, 20, 25 feet sitting on the bottom. It has the same really wide walk the dog action underwater, which I love. It's extremely consistent, very difficult to blow out this jerkbait. It suspends beautifully. You got size 8 hooks on there. You got a low weight transfer system. This is the best jerkbait that Megabass makes. If you are serious about jerkbait fishing, if you are not on the shore, you're going to want to go here. If I'm going out onto the lake to throw a jerkbait, I am tying this on first every time, unless I know that they're on jerkbait bite and I want a bigger bite, then I'm going to go 110 plus 1 standard size. Okay, but these two are like my 1-2 punch. I'll kind of back and forth these two guys to see which one they're all over more. Obviously, if I can get away with the larger one, I'm going to go with the larger one because I'm going to, try and get that bigger bite. So that brings us through the oversized Megabass jerkbaits, the Vision series of Megabass jerkbaits, which is, the majority. Now I'm going to talk about a little bonus bait that I think it's overlooked severely in the Megabass lineup. It's been overlooked by me until recently, and I haven't put a ton of time into it, but this is the Megabass X80 Trick Darter. The way you want to think about this bait is a junior version of the Ito Shiner. They have the same little face on them. They have the same cupped bill, which, just like the Ito Shiner, is just going to add to the erratic nature of the bait. So as you can see, both these baits are much more shad profiled, a little bit taller body, a little bit fatter. And with that cupped bill, it really creates a more erratic action. Think warm water. This is not going to be your cold water, super slow twitch, let it suspend there for a while. This is late spring, post spawn, and early fall. Okay, they're keyed in on smaller bait fish, and they are fired up. They're schooling up, they're busting on top. This is what you are going to go for. It's extremely erratic. It's still 3/8 of an ounce, so you can throw it on your standard jerkbait, and it comes with size 6 hooks. That's where we're going to end it today. I hope you guys enjoyed. I'm aware that Megabass does create other jerkbaits, those jerkbaits primarily being smaller ones, the X Nanahans, the BFS baits. I've already made a video about those in my BFS jerkbait video. If you're interested in those smaller 1/4 ounce and below size jerkbaits, I would go check that video out. I can link that in the video right here. I wanted to keep it to the standard size jerkbaits and the oversized jerkbaits, the ones that you could fish on a jerkbait rod that you already have, or a medium action rod and then a medium heavy rod that you have. Again, those smaller jerkbaits are awesome. I have a whole separate video on those. If you're interested, please check that out. Anyway, guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope the underwater footage and the explanations that I gave were helpful for you to hopefully determine which baits you should move forward with. Maybe you already have some of these baits and you agree or disagree with what I talked about in this video. If so, please leave a comment down below. I would love to learn maybe something that I am missing on one of these baits, or just to hear you guys are having a similar experience to me. If there's some other jerkbaits from other brands that you guys love, I'm always buying new jerkbaits. I'm always trying new baits to find other ones that I love. If you enjoyed this style video, please leave a like, please subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you guys in the next one.
3, 2, 1.